Hello everyone, sorry about that. We just had a few streaming issues that we're trying to resolve on our end. Uh, just let us know if, just please let us know if there's any issues with the audio or buffering. We'll do our best to fix that. Unfortunately, I guess we had a bit of a post-game analysis there, but that was cut off at the end of the stream. We were just pointing out a few things that happened in that game, sort of the present player not being able to get value off the that all you got, not drawing the cards off those. Dan sort of navigating the early game board state very well, clearing auras when his hands were a little bit clunky, just keeping up a bit of pressure and playing to his outs and his big turns. But yeah, I won't go through all of that in a whole lot of detail. Anyway, so there's about 12 minutes left in round 1. Please bear with us. We will be back with round 2 probably in about 15 minutes or so. We definitely have some very cool decks here today. It's a very cool metagame. So stick around and we will be back shortly.
quick.
It's pretty easy, eh? Once you sort of know what you're doing. Okay, then yeah. So we just do this and this, and then we will change the rounds. And actually, the final thing is just the round timer. Just so I can do this myself. So basically, say the next round starts at 10:45. I just add on 50 minutes from there.
55 minutes.
55 minutes. So that would take us through to. Geez, why is my math bad? 10. No, 11. Whatever it is. Next round.
Should start at like 10:40 something.
10:45, I'd say. So 55 minutes would be 11:40. Yeah. Cool.
The mic is hot. Yeah, the mic is hot. We unmuted ourselves.
Oh,
that's all right.
Thank you, Tannen. Appreciate it. But yeah, we will be back very shortly with round 2. Hello everyone, welcome back. Round 2 is starting very shortly. Pairings are just going up in a moment. So we'll have another feature match lined up for everyone. Yeah, so in round 1 we had 5 vs Prism. Ended up being one of those matchups where occasionally it can be a blowout one way or the other. Ended up being a very good game. A little bit unusual the way it played out, but the 5 managed to get there in the end. So yeah, we will certainly try and line up something cool for round 2. Just to let everyone know as well, this is a Battle Hardened, but it's also linked in with sort of a charity fundraiser event for the Cancer Society. We're hosted down at the Cancer Society Games Fair. I see I got a shout out from the chat. Yes, it is indeed Mr. Classic. I'm in the booth today with my main man Newson, who will be joining us very shortly. Okay, so it looks like the players are sitting down for the feature match. Okay, we'll be back in about 30 seconds. We're just going to get the details of the feature match sorted. We'll get all the info up on the screen. Don't go anywhere. Alright, welcome back everyone. So, we've got a bit of a spicy matchup for round 2. So we've got Byron, an Icelander, who took down a Phi in round 1, versus the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Kale McCreath on Bravo. And now, this tournament as well, it is very personal for Kale. He was a large part of the Cancer Society fundraising event last year. Very sadly, his father passed away from cancer. He's done a lot of good work raising a lot of money for this, and so this tournament just means a little bit extra to him on top of everything else.
Kel actually told me he's winning this tournament today, Karen.
He did?
Yeah, but I think he says that
for a lot of events.
A lot of events. So let's see if he can prove himself this round against Byron's Icelander.
Now I'm really looking forward to this because Icelander, I feel, has been, I would say it's a bit of a broad generalization, but I'd say maybe a little bit underexplored in the sense that we haven't seen a ton of Icelander decks around and Classic Constructed. I'm sure that they have been popping up around the world, but at least it's at the highest level. So I'm actually really excited to see how this matchup goes.
It has topped A and maybe won a few road to nationals around the world, but it hasn't really proven itself at the calling levels, the Battle Hardened levels, Battle Hardened Classic Constructor levels.
Yeah, those sort of really big sort of premier events. So round 1, just letting everyone know, there was a Phi player versus Prism round 1, and the Phi player took that one down. And yeah, because I've seen a few Icelander decks pop up here and there. There was one that won a Road to Nationals, it was a bit of a spicy list. It had things like 6 Icy Encounter, or maybe even 9 Icy Encounter, 9 Pummels, Command and Conquers.
I saw that.
So that was definitely quite cool to see people like just having their own take on the deck. You know, channel like Frigid, channel B Swabs, like just cool stuff like that. So I'm just going to be completely honest. I'm not really 100% sure how this matchup's going to go. It may depend very much on the builds both players are playing.
I wonder how much no room Kale is going to play.
I feel Kale has tended to, from what I know in previous events, is an advocate of being pretty safe with the null rune, and by that I mean sort of presenting 3 to 4.
Yeah.
But you never know. Like often in players, when you're optimizing decks for a particular meta, sometimes you're a little bit tempted to sort of cheat on the null rune, be like it's going to be okay. We actually saw at the Pro Tour, I feel, with players, we saw a number of Kano players make the top 8. Mm-hmm. We saw a very small amount of null rune barrier.
Or even none.
Or no sort of spell void and stuff like that. So we'll have to see what happens in this one.
Yeah, so I think Kale will go with Null Rune 3 with a Tectonic Plane.
Is there a chance we might see the old sort of Null Rune 4 in the Sledge of Anvalheim come out as well? Just to kind of set up that play where you kind of, you pitch your any 2 blues and come in with that and hold up 2 resources?
We could see that as well, but unlike Kano, Icelander isn't that much. Isn't like Kano.
Yeah, it doesn't really have that same. I mean, maybe towards the very end game, but it's not like those sort
explosive,
of massive Aether Wildfire hit you for 30 plus damage.
Yeah. So I was.
Okay, so it looks like Yusum was right. He's making me look like a fool on stream, but he is correct. He's got the tectonic plating. I guess it's just so efficient, isn't it? The tectonic plating with the Anathos lets you do a similar thing.
Well, the reason why he plays Null Rune 3 is because, one, the weapon only deals 3, and then he knows that stick does not have Wildfire as well. Now,
that is, I feel, a very nice start for Kale here. So he's gotten, he's pitched the 2 blues, he's got the Terra Sunder. That's an Anathos coming in for 7.
Dominate.
With Dominate, and this card isn't super relevant on turn 1 really, but just being able to sort of punch through that 4 damage on turn 1 is very nice.
Just raw damage turn 1. It's not committing Kale anything.
Yep, so he's getting free damage and he's getting the card into Arsenal, so I feel Kale's going to be very happy with how that started. And we see the Coronet Peak over on the side of the Icelander.
Oh, that's a nice Command and Conquer.
Okay, so we see the Command and Conquer here.
So he's electing to play attack actions with no attack action wizard spells.
Yep.
Whereas most of the time I just see the Icelander decks with just only wizard spells.
Yeah. And we see I believe that might be an Oasis Respite on the side there.
Coming on Command and Conquer.
Okay, so I feel like for Kale he's not going to mind too much. Just game plan, defend out the damage where you can. And we'll have to see what Kale will want to go with here. So now we see Icelander does have that card in the arsenal, which is very important to be able to sort of turn on that hero ability, maybe catch your opponent out with a few Frostbites. Ooh, an Enlightened Strike.
Kale McCurry from Enlightened Strike in his rival deck. So he's never had this card in his deck for a long time. He just never felt like it was needed.
Perhaps that might be a sort of concession to some of the Illusionist decks and stuff around here as well. We need to go a little bit more aggressive. Oh, so right off the bat, the Frost X comes down.
Oh, this will stop him from... Oh, so he chose draw a card. Interesting.
Okay, so he's drawn a card off the...
He has no ability to give it go again. Maybe he has Sigil of Source?
That could be a good point. Now, the Frostbite is going to do a good job at shutting down the Sigil.
Yeah, it does hurt him quite well. Oh, and coming with Oasis.
So it's going to defend 4 and it's going to gain Byron a life here.
So basically stops the attack.
Yep.
Yeah, trading 5 for 5.
And we can't quite see Kale's hand, but...
Yep, so pitches to prevent the arcane damage from
the Frost Hex there.
Now, the thing with Frost Hex is, one might be mediocre, but when you have 3 of them, and you create a lot of Frostbites and your opponent can't do anything, that can be very dangerous.
Okay, so we just see the Thunderquake come down for 8 damage here. So Kale preserving 2 cards in hand, so he's going to be able to pitch to prevent some arcane damage if he needs to. So Frost-X, just for our players out there who might not be very familiar with Icelander, Frost-X is an Affliction aura, so it stays on Kale's side of the board. It just reads, Frostbites you control have at the beginning of your end phase, this deals 1 arcane damage to you.
Flipping Insidious Chill, giving a Frostbite. I actually really like Byron's game plan. He's taking it slow, he's setting it up, he's setting up, he's trying to set up multiple Insidious Chills, multiple Frost Hexes, and he's just waiting for that one turn where Kale has more reds than blues, and just really punishing him there.
Yeah, the Insidious Chill, again, I'm just going to try feature a few of these Icelander cards, because I know it is a new hero, not everyone will be familiar with all the cards. We haven't seen a lot. Okay, so Zealous Belting coming in for 5 with Go again here. So I feel cards like Zealous Belting and their E-Strikes, that perhaps potentially in there primarily for things like Illusionist, are also doing a bit of work here for Kale, aren't they?
Yes.
Just pushing damage through. So Insidious Chill, just to let people know, is whenever you Ice Fuse, remove a Frost counter from Insidious Chill. If you do, target hero discards a card unless they pay 2. And we might see some interesting plays just based around the sort of priority windows here as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just things like... okay, sorry, I'll get back to that. Oh, another Insidious Chill. So that's going to make a Frostbite. But he still has to deal with the Zealous Belting coming down. I can see a Frost Hex in his hand there. So I'm interested to see here if Byron might elect to take a little bit of damage to try to set up that second Frost Hex very early in this game. I suppose we do have to bear in mind that it's not like Byron has infinite time here.
Yeah.
You can actually push out a lot of damage.
Alright, so he's fusing.
Is he fusing? Have they missed the Insidious Chills? Sorry, not completely sure what's happening here, but we see a pummel come down.
That pummel is actually very big.
Is that going to get the Frost Hex?
Yeah, and that's one less Frost Hex for Kale to deal with. So, Byron's plan was probably set him up with 2 or 3. But now, because of pummel, he's going to lose it. And then that hurts.
That hurts a lot, because a lot of your late game is based around setting up these multiple Frost Hexes, isn't it?
And now Byron has no cards in hand, no cards in arsenal. So Kale can do whatever he wants on his next turn.
Yeah, and that was going to be the point I was going to allude to. It's not like Byron has infinite time here, because Bravo, yes, you can just sort of do the hammer for 6 and stall for a bit of time, but also you obviously have cards like Crippling Crush, Spinal Crush, just these very big dominate attacks that are really going to push through the damage.
Alright, let's make a Surge.
Okay, so he makes a Surge here, so this is where Byron has priority to perhaps play something out.
Spinal Crush.
Okay, so Spinal Crush, non-dominate. I feel I like this play here because it just means Kale's able to keep up some cards in hand to, play around certain things that might come through.
I wonder if Kale has the pummel. He does have 2 cards in hand.
That's the nice thing as well for Insidious Chill, if they try and make you sort of, discard cards. I suppose it depends. You ideally would want to do it in the reaction step, so they can't have that pummel option. Yeah, it did look like the Insidious Chill trigger may have been missed on that previous turn, because he did have 2 Insidious Chills, and if that was played in the attack step, that probably should have shot down the pummel there, so I'm not...
So he is defending for 12. Respecting the pummel. Maybe he just doesn't like his hand.
Okay, so I feel like so far, Bravo's definitely got a bit of momentum going here. Okay, so pitching to play Command and Conquer with 3 cards in hand.
Well, it's a little odd. Well, this Command and Conquer won't be that bad because Byron has no arsenal, but he is really indicating that he does have a pummel in his hand because he just pitched a pummel.
Yep, he is representing the pummel here, isn't he? Okay, so choosing to defend for 6.
There we go. Red pummel, 10.
Oh, that's a
double pummel.
blue and red pummel coming down here. Okay, so that's a command card coming for 12, threatening double discard on hit.
Oh, that's neat. So he's responding with Blizzard, and then creates a Frostbite, and then he'll be taking 1 damage.
I know, he had 2 pummels on top of that, so...
Yeah, so he's responding with Blizzard. Kale will be taking 1 damage because it creates a Frostbite.
Yep.
Frostbite.
Okay, so he does have those Insidious Chills down, but it feels for Byron here, he's really hoping that Kale has one of those hands where it's just sort of Anathos for 6, but it doesn't look like that's happening.
Oh, there we go. Crippling Crush, 11 Dominate.
So Kale's not messing around, he wants to close out this game quickly. So yeah, it feels like Byron's like really wanting to play towards a bit of a longer game here. Now, he will be able to, you know, defend with 1 card, maybe play one of his cards at instant speed to deal a bit of damage, but I feel Kale is just not concerned here about taking, you know, 1 or 2 damage from the Frost Hex at all. And you have to feel a little bit for Byron here. He, you know, he had the Frost Hex down early, he got the Insidious Chill stacked up, but then it's just been Kale really putting his foot on the gas.
I think it was that turn on Pummel on Zealous Belting, making them lose the second Frost Hex.
Yeah, that was quite big, and I feel like perhaps there was a slight blunder there, or maybe a very slight misplay not trying to play that before the attack reaction step, so he didn't have that option. So maybe just a little bit unfortunate. So this is currently coming over for 8 damage.
Crippling Crush will trigger, discarding 2 cards. At least Byron has an arsenal now.
Yep, so I suppose I feel this is a nice play here, understanding that arsenal is very important, so just electing to randomly discard a card, ideally hold onto a blue, you arsenal it, and just sort of move on.
I mean, Byron really didn't have a choice, right? He couldn't really defend with others. It was dominated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
But he could have played out blue at instant speed. Like...
No, it's only from the arsenal.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah. No, I mixed it up, so... Okay, so Anathos coming for 6. 2 resources up, again, just sort of potentially representing another pummel here. Obviously won't discard, but... Okay, so we see a Cold Snap come down.
So that targets his opponent and freezes his arsenal. But Kale has no arsenal, but it's still illegal to play, so he does have 2 floating.
And he chose not to fuse there?
You can't fuse a Cold Snap. Cold Snap's an ice card.
Okay, so...
Oh, so, okay, this might be interesting. So, Sigil Pepperettes, when it's fused, I think he is missing the Insidious Chill triggers again.
Yeah, I'm not
too sure.
Quite sure what's going on with those Insidious Chills.
Is Insidious Chill a...
I believe it's
mandatory?
I believe it's a mandatory trigger. Yes, it is, so... I'm not totally sure what's going on with those Insidious Chills there.
Yeah. Alright, here we go. Aether Ice Main? Oh, so, okay, now he remembers his Insidious Chills.
Yeah, maybe there was a slight bit of confusion of whether he knows it's mandatory or optional.
Yeah.
Because it seems like he is aware of that here.
Alright, so back to this play. Mm-hmm. So he goes Aether Ice Fang and then Fuse. So that's preventing 5. So he's choosing to use his Insidious Chills 1 at a time. So it's either Kale has to discard a card or pitch 2 resources. So that's what Kale did. He pitched 6 resources.
Okay, so that's quite efficient because he's going to take 4 damage here. He needs to pay 2 and he's pitched those 2 cards there.
Yeah, so yeah.
Okay, so that was good for Byron to at least strip a few cards out of the hand. Okay, and we'll see what KO wants to do here. Because yeah, that was a nice tempo play from the Icelander player.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when Seismic Surge triggers.
Yep.
And now you create responsive channel blank expense.
Okay, so that's going to get the Frostbite down. Which is nice, because it might just mess a little bit with his plans for the turn. And that's what we talked about some of the priority windows in this game, with the things like the Seismic Surges, because with those, like as Newton just mentioned, when it creates a trigger, it allows Byron to have an opportunity to play this before Kale sort of throws out an attack, for example. Okay, so choosing just to pay one for Remembrance here. We'll look to see if he gets back the E-Strike potentially as well. Yep, so the E-Strike, the Zealous Belting, and the Terra Thunder. So just a bit of built-in Dominate and Disruption, and two sort of slightly go-wide cards there.
Judging by this play, I think Kel is just going to Arsenal set up and pass it back to Byron, I think. Okay, so we see Waning Moon for free. 27, yeah. Kel's going to Arsenal. Alright, now Byron has a 5-card hand. Let's see how he... oh, that channel blank isn't destroyed yet.
No, he just had 3 because he pitched to play out the channel there, the Bleak Expanse. Okay, so Kale's coming in for... Unfortunately, we don't know what mode he's chosen. If I had to guess, I might say go again, with 3 cards in hand. A Channel Lake Frigid, that's going to create a Frostbite. So it's going to make the follow-up plays a bit more expensive. So it looks like there's 2 Sink Belows in hand here. I expect to see one of them come down. Okay, with access to 3 cards here, he has like plenty of follow-up damage. Okay, so choosing to pay 3 for the Seismic Surge. Sorry, pay 2 for the 3 for the Seismic Surge, and then come in with Anathos. So again, it feels like Byron's doing his best to make sure he stays in this game as much as possible.
He's definitely holding on.
So he is down to 4 life here. I believe that's a Sink Below in hand, which he is going to be able to Arsenal.
I think he is going to use Coronet. Oh, did he only have 1 card?
He had a Sink Below, I believe, in hand here. Okay, so the Seismic Surge triggers. So he's just checking with his opponent if he wants to play anything here. Again, I feel Byron's really hoping that he gets a turn where it's just an Anathos for 6, but that's not going to happen, is it? Okay, so we see a non-dominated Spinal Crush here. So I think what I like about this Regalo is so he's representing a Pummel potentially, but also has resources up to prevent arcane damage potentially, or just Arsenal a card and save it up for next turn.
I wonder when Byron's gonna pop using his Striders. He is on He is on 4 life. I think he just needs to push some damage in a window. Yeah, this is one of Kale's favorite plays. If you've played Kale for long enough, he always likes bluffing the Pummel.
I think this is quite nice because he kind of understands that he doesn't want to get blown up by pitching all his resources in for a Spinal that might just get blown out by a Sink Below. So he's like, look, you're on 4 life, I'm going to come for 9 damage. If you want to block it for 6, then that's fine by me.
Yeah. So he does have... And that, there we go. That will stop any Pummel shenanigans.
Okay, so we see this come down to create a Frostbite.
So Defend and Oasis, preventing 7, and then you'll gain a life. So basically preventing 8, taking 1.
It feels like a pretty good play here. Allows him to keep the sink blow if he wishes to.
Okay, so he's gonna fully defend the Spinal.
Okay, so I guess he's keeping his ice card to place an Arsenal.
Yep. So KL plays Oasis Spy as well.
Okay, so it feels like Byron's sticking around, but it does feel like Kale is like really setting up to try and get one of these big attacks. And I suppose one of the other things we can mention as well, by electing not to use the Bravo ability, he doesn't give his opponent another opportunity to respond to that, because you don't want to give your opponent priority and then you're not able to play your big card.
Yep. So we're coming in for 6, 0 floating. Oh, 1 floating, sorry.
Yes, 1 floating.
So he didn't make a surge, seismic surge off Tectonic.
Yep, so he's holding 2 cards here, so he's able to prevent arcane damage if he needs to. But also just saying, look, you're going to have to defend this. I feel Kale's making sure he takes his time so he doesn't get blown out, gives his opponent an opportunity to sort of get back into this game.
Brian's probably counting how many pummels have.
Yeah. So I feel what you don't want to do here is run into a big red pummel, and suddenly this attacks for 10. Okay, so it looks like he has a number of cards that defend for 3 in hand. Yeah, it's certainly a tricky spot for Byron to navigate here.
I think he's thinking of just defending for 9 and then playing Arctic Incarnation on his turn.
Oh, the Incarceration to give additional
Or even
frostbites?
use Mount Coronet. Coronet's Peak, sorry.
Yep, Coronet's Peak. Named after a mountain range in New Zealand. A little bit of fab trivia for everyone there.
Oh, electing to defend.
Okay, so a full block here. And Kale happy just to arsenal a card and have a 5-card hand next turn. Okay, so we'll see what Kale's got lined up for this turn. Okay, so just keeping up the pressure with the Disable here, coming in for 7, threatening that Arsenal card.
Still bluffing the pummel.
Yep, absolutely. So it's good here. Kale, I feel he's just wanting to keep up the pressure until he can represent that huge killing blow that Byron may not be able to deal with. Okay, so we see the Ice Bolt come down. So Kale pitching to prevent the arcane damage there. Now he has a Frostbite on his side of the board.
Alright, so now Byron knows his arsenal is probably... Well, he won't be getting pummeled. He won't be getting pummeled this turn.
Yeah, absolutely, because resources are just not available for that.
Yeah.
So he still has to defend this. He does have the option of defending for 6. There isn't really a relevant on-hit trigger here.
Looks like he's defending for 5. Oh, defending for 4 even. Dropping himself to 2.
Okay, so Byron, managed to navigate that turn, but again, now he's down to 2 life. Kale slowly just chipping away at his life total. Choosing just to arsenal that card and pass. It feels like, Byron is clinging on for dear life, trying to find his window, but
Oh, here we come.
But Kale just continuing to hammer home with, either the hammer itself or just these... that's the thing about Bravo, isn't it? Just these blue attacks. That's a blue card that's coming for 8 damage. And this is a 3-card block.
Yeah. This is...
There is an option here to defend with 2 cards, use the Tunic for something like the Ironhide Gauntlets. That does come at a significant cost though, because you'd think he probably wants to hold on to that for like that big dominate attack at some point. And again, just constantly threatening the potential pummel, isn't he? With that card in Arsenal.
He really is. Okay, so he's going off with Ice Eternal. So for anyone that doesn't know, Ice Eternal's cost is XX. You pay and it's ice fused. If it's ice fused, you deal as much damage as much. So it creates frostbites for how much you've pitched, and then if it's fused, you
Deal arcane damage.
You deal the arcane damage how many frostbites they have. So he likes to pitch 6, so he makes 3 frostbites. Yep, and then Kale responds with Oasis.
Okay, so he does have so there's no pummel threat here, but again, he is on 2 life, and this is coming in for 8. So
Baron will be losing, he's losing his whole everything.
Yeah,
Losing his head.
And it does look like those, Insidious Shield triggers have been missed. Maybe we'll potentially just mention it to the player after the game, just let them know for future rounds. Okay, so now Byron has no card in Arsenal, Kale has a 4-card hand, so this may be the turn that Kale was playing towards. Okay, so that's Zealous Belching coming in for 5. Now again, you cannot just defend this with 1 card.
I think he's just gonna use Ironhide. Oh, he's popping Storm Striders. Oh.
Okay, so we have the Storm Strider's turn coming down. So if he is able to create some Frostbites here.
Okay, so fuse.
Okay, so he's just using, using the Insidious Chills here. So that's going to basically strip all the cards away from Kale's hand. Deal a little bit of arcane damage. But again, this will need to be effectively fully blocked.
Right. I think he's just going to block with 1 card and Tunic and go to 1 and Arsenal Ice card. I don't see him surviving the next turn with just no Arsenal.
Yeah, possibly you could look at the Frost Hex into Arsenal. Perhaps it's a bit too late. I think that may be another Insidious Chill in hand.
No, sorry, Karen. He can't defend with Insidious Chill. Defends for 2.
Oh no.
So if he defends with that and Tunic, he'll still be taking 2.
Yep, so he's defended that out fully, but he is down to 2 life now with no Arsenal card. Yeah, and it may just be a little bit of nerves from players here.
Oh, Drew, Energy Potion.
Okay, and there's the Dominate Crippling Crush, and I think that's
the nail in the coffin.
That's going to be it, isn't it? Yeah, even with the Oasis Respite and the Ironhide Gauntlets, it's just not quite enough to fully defend that out, I don't believe.
It's definitely a rough matchup.
7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, he actually potentially could have survived there.
So he goes. So the Ice card defense of 2, and then
then 5 effectively,
and then
7, 8, 9, 10. He could have gone to 1 potentially.
And then he loses his hand, and then
yeah, then it's probably over anyway. So
yeah, congrats on Kel for winning round 2 pretty convincingly. He's definitely tested this matchup. Like, he knows what he's doing. He knows what to prevent, when to go aggro.
Yeah, but I felt he was sort of navigating around those. He was navigating around the potential cards from Arsenal, the Insidious Shields quite well. It just felt like those that double pummel play early really sort of heavily swung the momentum into Kale's favour and just made it very, very difficult for Byron and Icelander to come back from that one. But yeah, that looks like that's it for round 2. So Kale progresses to 2-0. We will just going to go on a short break and we'll be back with you very quickly. But stick around for some more Fab action coming up soon. Hello everyone and welcome back to Battle Hardened Auckland. So we will have round 3 starting very shortly. There was just a deck tick with a time extension. That round's about to be finishing up and we'll kick off into round 3. But we have got the metagame breakdown up on stream for you here. So we thought we'd just have a bit of a discussion around that. And I feel, Newson, kind of no surprises here that Fire is the most played deck. I think that's what a lot of people are expecting coming into today.
Yeah, 100%. So Fire is the most common deck. There's 2 reasons. One, it's pretty play. There's not many things you can go wrong with playing the deck. Maybe you're sequencing a bit, but most people just try to race each other.
Yeah, it's got quite good sort of what I'd say like pick up and play potential, right? Like if you get the Fire deck, like you say, you do need to be able to sit in sequencing things. For example, things like Spreading Flames, making sure you're maximizing your damage. Things like Shuko. Things like Shuko and Mask, which some players are playing, making sure you hit the correct sort of breakpoints on certain attacks, but a lot of the time you are sort of running out your thing. So it's a very powerful deck, and it is a little bit easier to play to a deck like Dramai, for example, which we see we've only got 3 Dramai players here today. The other one, what I wanted to note is we see Prism, 9 Prism players, so not sort of being scared off by the Fires, but I think quite significantly is the third most played deck is Bravo.
Yeah, well, that's
So are you thinking like is there quite a lot of Bravo here because there are Bravo players who feel that they can sort of play into Fire quite well?
So I think there's a lot of Bravo players. One, it's sort of like Fire. It's kind of easy to pilot, but Bravo is a deck that's like it's quite good against Fire at the right moments. There's certain cards like Crippling Crush, Spinal Crush, even like Red Chokeslam. Like those cards really bother Fire.
Exactly, and there's some cards that haven't seen a whole lot of love in previous iterations of Bravo decks. You mentioned one, Red Chokeslam, really good at shutting down things like Art of War, Spreading Flames, the Stubbie's turn, for example, if you wanted to do that. Another one, I'm not sure if all the players are playing necessarily, but things like Crush the Weak.
Yeah.
So Crush the Weak, both, if you throw in the red one, that it hits a nice breakpoint of 7. Which would probably eat up some equipment blocks, for example, or if you're playing some of the more all-in builds, they don't have access to that. Which a lot of time can just completely shut down their entire turn. They've run a lot of cards that just attack for 3. Even things like Blue Crush the Week, though, for example, as well. We see Bravo's playing a lot of Pummels recently, but Blue Crush the Week, the good thing about that is it also just takes out a card from the hand. It's almost like a force block a lot of the time. Sometimes with Fire, if you have 4/2 blocks, it's a bit of a disaster. You really need to play around that one.
I feel like the Guardians have really risen up with Fire's release, because without Fire, it was just a very Prism-heavy format, because, a Guardian deck struggles very hard against Prism, right?
Very difficult matchup.
But now, because the popularity of Fire, and then so many people are playing it, Bravo might be able to sneak in there if they're hoping the Fire players take out the Prism players, and then the Bravo players will just verse the Fire players, which maybe they think it's a good matchup.
Yep.
For them, so that's why the Guardians like Bravo, Oldham, they've been rising in popularity this season, this meta. Yeah.
Yep, and I see some of the other decks that we expect to see a fair bit of. We've got the Briar, we got 7 Briars in here. Again, just a pretty solid aggro deck in there. We have 7 Lexies.
Oh.
Now, I feel that Lexi thing might be another sort of one that I know some Lexi players feel like they have a good matchup into Fire. Yep. They feel like they can sort of fight through the prisons a bit sometimes as well, or just with that raw damage potential. Now, one thing that is interesting to me though is if we look at Viserai, which has got a lot of attention recently, we've only got 2 players on the Viserai deck today. Is some of that a bit of a function of, do you feel that they might not feel particularly confident into Fire at the moment because they're not sort of winning those damage races?
Yeah, I could agree with that. As well as Viserai is not the easiest deck to pilot. That's one of the main concerns. You can play it, but to play it well and maximize the damage through the rune chants and everything so on, that's actually quite hard. The sequencing is quite important, because Viserai is like it's not like Fire where you can just take all the damage and just come back at them, right?
Yeah.
Viserai is more of a mid-range deck where you block and then you pick your moments, right?
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And also, you sort of have to... just for a person saying, Vizrai's Living Legend and Blitz. It actually is Classic Constructed today that we're playing, just to let everyone know. But you're absolutely correct on Vizrai. Also, there's a lot of... in order to maximize your damage, I feel you have to sequence all these turns very, very well.
Yeah.
On top of that, you're right, sometimes you have to pivot between, going for your damage turns and then your block and setup turns and things like that. And it's very easy to sort of not realize you've made a couple mistakes until it's turn 6 or 7, and then it's all of a sudden very, very difficult to come back into the game.
Yes, that is definitely correct.
So a few other ones we got here. We've got Oldham as the 4th most played deck. We've got 5 players on the Oldham deck. I mean, I feel Oldham's just generally quite a strong, solid defensive deck. Probably struggles a bit into decks like Prism, into decks like Dramai, for example. But I imagine, similar to Bravo, the Oldham players might feel that they
have an edge
into fire.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
At the same time, probably figures they can deal with a number of the aggro decks very well. I can see, and just rounding out the discussion with some of the lesser played decks here, we've got a few Reinars, which I love to see. I know that a Reinar player, Gene Brumby, won a Road to Nationals down in Wellington not too long ago. We have a couple of Boltons. Now, I do know there was a American player, I believe Joshua Lau, apologies if I got your name wrong, who won a Road to Nationals going 7 or 8-0 with Bolton. Did a deck about it, so maybe there's a few Bolton players out there who feel like they've got the goods to deal with some of these decks. Also, so we've got a few Levias, a couple of Dorinthia. Okay, so that's a bit of a blast from the past. I feel Dorinthia is not a hero that you see a ton of these days. So I'd be very interested to see a little bit of Dorinthia. Maybe, who knows? Maybe we can line up a little bit of a Dorinthia game for everyone watching shortly. And then a little bit of Dash, a little bit of Icelander, and yeah, I guess that's it. I suppose the heroes we don't see on the board today, Azalea, which, to be completely honest, isn't super surprising. Azalea has been known to struggle in various constructed and metagames.
Never get the love.
But also, looks like we do not have any Katsu players today. And I imagine some of that might be for some of the Ninja players who were previously Katsu mains may have sort of migrated over to playing Fire.
Yeah, Fire is just a bit easier deck to play.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like we're going to turn off this metagame breakdown, because it looks like we have 3 starting up very shortly. Okay, we'll just be one moment while we get the player names and the heroes lined up for everyone. And yes, no Kano. DM Armada, shout out to one of my favourite Fab content creators. Now it looks like we do not have any Kano today. But Kano's one of those decks that you never know. I feel a lot of people wrote off Kano before the Pro Tour, and then only for it to put through a pretty dominating run, I would have to say. Okay, and Dorinthia, speak of the devil, look what we've got coming up on stream. So both these players are 2-0. Now, a little birdie has told me that the Dorinthia player is none other than Mr. John Warden, Fluke and Box.
Yep, he
came over from Australia.
We met him on Thursday, and then now he's doing quite well.
So he is 2-0 coming into this.
He's ripping the Dory.
Okay, so we'll just get ourselves set up for this game. Okay, so we're just waiting on word for who John's opponent is going to be. And just to let everyone know, it's of course the Stubbie Hammerers ban was announced recently, so that is not in effect for this event, and so 5 players are able to play the Stubbie Hammerers.
Even though we haven't seen it on stream?
No, but we have not seen the Stubbies
so
so far.
I think we will see it definitely in the later rounds.
Okay, we'll just be...
It's Sam Payne on Bravo is the...
Okay, so we will just get this set up for you. So we've got a Bravo into Dorinthia matchup. Now, this kind of takes me back to, 2019, 2020, when we used to see a bit of...
So, of your format, Kieran, I personally, for me, I wasn't playing back then, so I wouldn't...
No, but that was my time. A little bit of a trivia fact for everyone tuning in today. You have not 1, but 2 calling runner-ups on the stream today. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're just getting our timers set up and everything. Sorry, we'll just be one moment while we get this set up, and then we'll get back into the discussion. Okay, so there we go. We will just be one moment, and then we will jump right into the action. Yeah, so this one for, some of you old school players out there, this might be, like we mentioned, a bit of a blast from the past. And for all the players who haven't seen this a lot, well, I mean, a lot has changed, obviously. Dorinthia's got sort of a few more tools from the, that we've got the glistening from the classic battle set. Now, I can't say, I haven't seen, I'm just going to say straight up, I haven't seen a whole lot of Dorinthia decks recently, so I am very interested to see what John's chosen to go with in this one.
Yeah, I was actually playing against John the other day, and his Dorinthia deck is pretty good, but he did tell me he does not want to verse Guardians.
Oh no.
Guardians, because he likes versing decks that don't block.
Right, so...
And Guardians tend to block a lot.
Yeah, so I imagine he might have potentially teched his deck more towards fire in that he wants to go sort of hyper aggro into a race style.
Yeah, he wants to get his Stormblade, multiple counters. Like earlier today, I saw him have like four counters on a Stormblade, and I was like, it was quite impressive. So let's see if we can do that against Sam. So Sam's been an OG player as well, right? So I think he's played Bravo for ever.
Sam's been around for a very long time. I know he made the top 8 of the Monarch Limited calling. That was in Auckland last year. In fact, I believe in the top 4, where he may have lost to the methodical Matt Rogers. So, hey, I've done that. There's no shame in losing to old Matt. So, yeah, I do agree with a bit of the chat talking here that we've got a few conflicting opinions if it's good for Bravo or good for Dory. I do feel... I know it may not be relevant these days, but way back in the day, in order to beat Bravo, Dorinthia's needed to go for a bit more of a controlling long game option. So I know they ran a few things like Last Ditch Effort even, and Remembrance just so you wouldn't get fatigued out by the Anathos.
Oh no, that was back in the day.
Yeah, if it is more of a sort of modern, hyper-aggressive build to tune to beat fire like we were talking about, it may prove to be a little bit more difficult because Bravo obviously has access to excellent defensive tools. They've got very good equipment, one of the best fridges in the game. Mm-hmm. I fully expect to see the Tectonic Plating, Crater Fist, potentially even Iron Rot boots, and maybe a Crown of Providence or a Skullcap.
Yep.
Dorinthia also access to very good defensive options as well, but I feel in kind of the...
Well, Dorinthia's armor kind of matches Bravo. They have the same points of defense, right?
They do. It just one thing is it feels that, if I can put it this way, Bravo has a bit more of like redundancy built into the deck.
Yeah.
So for example, if you're, just to give a very basic example, if you block, say, a Red Warrior's Valor attack comes in and you block it with 2 blue cards, yes, you've traded 2 for 1 cards, but as a Bravo player, you're probably pretty happy with that because you've traded out 2 cards that don't really matter in your deck. But in saying that, you never know. Like, for example, if John's able to build up a little bit of momentum, maybe catch Sam a bit off guard without some early defense reactions, start stacking up those Dawnblade counters to be those really sort of difficult breakpoints to deal with, then he could very well make this a very, very tough game.
I think Twinning Blade will be one of the most important cards. And let's see how John uses it.
That's a really good point, because things like Twinning Blade allows you to almost get these sidestep turns, right?
Yeah.
Where maybe you get something like a Spoils of War onto your Dawnblade, and then perhaps paired up with something like a Supremacy. You come in for this big attack, and then if you catch the Bravo player maybe overblocking with 3 or 4 cards, you're able to Twinning Blade, and then come back in when they've really stripped down the ability hand. So it looks like we're pretty much correct on the equipment predictions for Bravo. We see the Crown of Providence, the new legendary...
Well, look at those equipment, Karen. Both sides rocking the cold foil. I think John's rocking his gold foils.
Yeah.
So,
okay, so I do see. I believe that's full golded for John there, with apart from the refraction bolters. Okay, and it looks like we're about to jump right into the action here.
Alright, so...
Okay, so it looks like we're not entirely sure who started this game, but I suppose we'll find out in just a second.
Okay, John's starting.
And there's the card you talked about. And that's just a red sharpened steel coming in for 6 here with the Dawnblade. We see those metallic fab tokens for the resources. That's pretty cool. I like those. Now the Twinning Blade, that is being pitched to the bottom. That could be, multiple reasons. That might just be his best resource card, but also it preserves it in the deck for later on in the game. Maybe fetch it off a Singing Steel Blade, something like that. Okay, so 3-card block for 7. So...
Okay, so John decides to use Outblood Blue just to get rid of...
Just to filter it from his hand. So he did get a red pummel there. I think he's going to be pretty happy that he got rid of something like that. You kind of don't want to be facing down a red pummel, on your opponent's first turn. I feel like one of the keys to this matchup is how the hands line up as well. A bit of a trap. You don't want to put in your one card and then multiple blocks in your equipment, which are very, very critical, and which you probably want to save to enable a bit of flexibility later on in the game. Nature's Path Pilgrimage. Okay, I see it. And a plow through.
Oh, so this is coming in for 9. So plow through is it has the same text as a Centauri Saber. Where if it's defended by an attack action, it gets the +1. And plus it gives the Dawnblade +3.
And that's actually quite powerful. And the Nature's Path Pilgrimage, the good thing is, so John has one resource available for an attack reaction. So Nature's Path Pilgrimage, on hit, he can put the top card of his deck into Arsenal if it is an action card.
Okay, this is actually quite funny. Because if Sam defends with 3 cards, and one is attack action, it's actually going to go to 10. So making a hit and making a 1 over.
Very awkward breakpoint.
Oh, so...
Oh! Now, the one thing is... he pushed through a lot of damage here. He gets a Steel Blade Supremacy into the arsenal. The one thing I will say, though, is that it's probably not a card you necessarily want to reveal to your opponent, because it means they are able to... you can't play around it when they activate it, but you can sort of structure your turn a little bit differently knowing they have that. Yeah,
so the Dawnblade unfortunately did not have Go again.
Yeah, and it did not generate card advantage there because he did have a card in hand already.
Oh, they need to do the life.
Yep.
Well, just 1 sec, Karen. I'll go remind them.
Yeah, we're reminding the players to update life, so for everyone viewing, we can have access to this. Okay, so now we see a Dominator's Final Crush coming for 9. Again, no Arsenal card here, so... So Sam here is basically saying to John, I know you've got the Supremacy in Arsenal, so if you would like to have a big turn here, you're going to have to defend with your equipment.
Is that Dominated Spinal Crush?
Yes, that is a Dominated Spinal Crush coming in here.
No, that's scary.
So he does have the option to use the Skull Cap here, yep.
Alright, selecting... Oh, he's choosing the defend all 9.
Okay, I thought he may wish to preserve a little bit of the equipment here, just because quite often Spinal Crush you just want to hit that 6. So I was thinking maybe a Skull Cap and Refraction Bolters. But the thing is here, if he's wanting to go for the Courage of Bladehold turn right now with the Steel Blade Supremacy, then why not get value out of it, right?
Yeah.
So he knows his opponent has no Arsenal, still has a full fridge up, but the important thing about no Arsenal here is it means that Reprise is always going to be active, in the sense that, yes, you can block with your equipment, but it means if you're defending from hand, I'm definitely getting Reprise. I just want to give a quick shout out to Tower Number 9, another one of my fab content creators, who I know has been around for a very long time. Used to play a bit of Dorinthia back in the day, so good to see you here. Okay, so now we see John taking his time a little bit, and understandably so, because I feel, even though it's very early in the game, if he cracks the Courage of Bladehold here, that's a huge turning point. That's if you don't have access to that later on in the game, that's big.
Yeah.
Because I feel, Newson, as well, when you go for the Courage of Bladehold, you really want to make sure you're guaranteeing 2 attacks, right? Because then you're effectively getting 2 resources out of it, with both your Dawnblade attacks coming for free.
100%.
Okay, so we'll see how John wants to go with this there. So, okay, here we see the Supremacy's coming in. And just an attack for 5, okay. So he does have Refraction Bolters available for Go Again. He does have things like Glint the Quicksilver, obviously, that can grant this Go Again. But I am curious to see if Sam's potentially just happy taking damage here.
His gesture does look like, maybe I'll take it, bait out the refraction bolters.
Now, he is able to stack these triggers in a way that he is able to draw a card from... So he needs to announce the Refraction Bolter's trigger, but he's able to draw a card from the Steelblade Supremacy.
And then choose to...
Then choose. Also, he does have an option there if Sam chooses not to defend of potentially just coming with an attack reaction for 8, drawing the card from Supremacy, arsenaling it and being like, hey, you know what? I'm happy with my 8 damage. The only reason I feel he wouldn't be thrilled with that is because... that's the full fridge block on. Yeah. So that does limit your options a little bit going into the mid-to-late game.
He does need to deal damage, and gain some tempo back. Maybe get a counter on Dawnblade to make those fridge blocks worth it.
So I can see Sam's hand there. He doesn't have any defense reactions. He's just got the 4 cards that defend for 3.
So he chooses to take 5. John Supremacy will trigger, draw. And then is he...
We can't quite see his hand here.
So, alright, so he's going to crack the Refraction Bolters for go again. Now he has 3 cards to play with.
Now, I wonder if we might potentially see just a...
Oh, he's pitching the new Glistening Steelblade. So he's coming in for 5.
1 resource available.
Go again as well. Glistening Steelblade, one of the newest cards from the Rhino vs. Dorinthia Classic Battle decks.
Very cool
Very
addition.
Powerful card.
So I wonder if we might see Sam here consider just something like a 3-card block, for example. Because with 1 card in hand, if this is coming in for 5... I feel you feel very safe just blocking it for 9, right?
Yeah.
And then you'll be like, your big blocks are down, your refraction bolters are down. Oh, sorry, no, I am incorrect. 2 cards in hand, 1 resource available. So no, I'm completely wrong. This is actually very scary.
Yeah. John could potentially have a plus, gets his Stormblade to +6 with just a 1-cost pump, 1-cost attack reaction, and a Iron Song response.
Yeah, pushing this up to 8, we could see something...
Oh, he didn't block it, so he's going for 8. Dropping Sam to 21.
And that's a counter on Dawnblade.
Yeah, and netting him another card.
Now, he's not... Unfortunately for John, he does have a card in hand, so it looks like he isn't going to sort of generate the card advantage he may have wanted to from this.
I think Sam is going to fire with a...
Potentially that might...
Crippling Crush or Spinal Crush, to be honest.
I saw a sneak peek at his hand there. He might have something like a Red Disable available. But I feel for John, he's probably going to be pretty happy with how that worked out. Yes, he cracked the bolters, but he did get a lot of damage out of that turn. Okay, so it looks like it is the Red Disable.
Oh, so it's just coming in for 6. Coming for 9, but he has no floating for the pummel.
Yeah, so this does open up the option for John here to defend with 2 cards, 2 block 3s. You take 3, you're holding onto your arsenal card, so you're still kind of okay with that.
To be honest, Kieran, I don't think he's going to defend. I think he's just going to try race.
One interesting thing here is that John had 2 options to put in arsenal. He potentially may have gone for the big brain, put the weaker card in arsenal, expecting something like a Command and Conquer or Disable coming back at him. That may be a little bit sort of...
I think if John defends here, it's... Because, he wants to maintain that counter on Dawnblade. He wants it to stay. He doesn't just want to defend with 2 cards and only play with 2 cards and just potentially being able to lose the counter, right?
I totally, yeah. The more you say that, I do kind of see where you're coming. Unless his hand is particularly weak.
Yeah.
He feels if he goes down to 22 life here, I feel at a minimum he wants to get out some of those equipment blocks next turn.
Yeah.
Because you just cannot be going into the mid to late game with your opponent having up 7 block. It's just a recipe for disaster, really. Perhaps that's a little bit too strong. Not a recipe for disaster, but it just makes the game a lot more difficult to close out, I feel. But again, this is a tough decision. Because the thing is, the more you don't block now, you do need to preserve your flexibility.
So he's selecting the block for...
I believe that will be 6. Yep, okay, the player's just confirming that that is indeed 6 damage. And that's a run through there, I believe. Another card from the classic battles.
Okay, that's why he wanted to keep it. Alright, so we see the new Glistening Steelblade. So this card gives Dawnblade go again, and if Dawnblade hits, it gains a counter.
So that is very impactful. Now, with one resource available, it does kind of limit the options that John will have here. I feel something like a Singing Steelblade is probably, the best thing. Sam does have that Sink Below in hand. So I do like this. I really like the block for 4 here because you're not turning on Reprise. And then your opponent plays an attack reaction potentially, and now we can see the Sink Below, which is going to be very strong here.
Alright, there goes the counter. Alright, so John forced some equipment blocks.
Now, the thing is as well is Sam did Arsenal disable last turn.
Yeah.
And so with no card in Arsenal, just having that raw damage come through, I think you're just very happy to eat that if you're John, really. Ooh, but you're probably less happy to eat that one. So this is, I feel it's going to connect.
To be honest, this isn't. Depending on John's hand, it's not the worst because you could always tackle Dawnblade, pitch a blue, and then pump it to 6 or 9, and then just do some damage. Right? It's not like the end of the. It's not the end of the world.
Absolutely, it may depend again on the hand, but you're absolutely correct. If you defend for 3 here.
Yep.
Okay, so did defend with a route.
Taking 6, getting crushed.
But you're right, I mean, he can pitch a blue and threaten 2 attack reactions
Yeah,
here.
now I've got a 9, right?
And I feel... yeah, I mean, also...
Alright, so he's pitching a Singing.
Okay, so 1 resource floating, 2 cards in hand.
So maybe John has a reaction, and then maybe he's just going to Arsenal for next turn.
Yeah, now again for Sam here, one thing to keep in mind is he does have that disable in Arsenal.
Alright. Oh, here we go. Run through. So this card is it gives the Dawnblade go again.
Yep.
And the next sword attack is +2.
Okay, so I think for John here, I mean, ideally for him, he's got something like an Iron Song response. Okay, so he's checking on the Sink. Just a good little tip for players as well. Like when your opponent plays Sink Below here, you want to make them resolve the effect before you play out your reaction, if you have one. Okay, now I feel this is an opportunity for Sam to get a bit of tempo.
Yeah.
Because he does have that red disable on Arsenal that he's been holding there for a little bit.
Oh, does he have his? Oh, does he have his third one in there? Because he's already played 2, right?
I believe he does.
Okay.
Hard to find out again alive. Okay, so 2 resources available.
Activating Bravo? Yep. Oh.
Yep, and that
another
is...
red disable for 9, dominate.
Now again though, this is a lot of damage and it will eat the Arsenal card, but if John has a good hand here, I feel you're actually potentially okay with dropping down to 13, right?
Yeah.
You've eaten up 2 of your opponent's big blocks and Tectonic Plating the Crater Fist. They still have access to a 4 power block.
Here we go, he's eating the 9. No.
So what this means, particularly if he has a strong Reprise hand, he is able to threaten big time here. They were just making sure that the pitch
The order is right.
Yeah. So I don't believe you have to reveal from disable, so I'm not sure if they were doing that, but anyway. Alright, here we go. I really like this play here, because if you have a good hand, this is the time to do it, I feel.
Ooh. So this is coming in for
5, 6, 7, 8. And he has 2 resources available. Now, I feel, Newton, you mentioned it earlier, one of the key cards in this matchup, Twinning Blade. Mm-hmm. This potentially could be a Twinning Blade turn. Actually, the only issue with Twinning Blade is your next attack only does come in for 3.
Potentially, oh yeah, I only can do 3.
But this is very scary. You could be representing a, I mean, the Singing Steelblade, he did see 1 go on the bottom here. You could be representing something like Route. But the thing is, right, we talked about, like, this is a good opportunity for John to push the tempo. Equally for Sam, if he's holding something like 3 blues and a Crippling Crush here, a lot of the equipment's down at this point. I mean, it's always... I've been in the spot a number... hey, I think I just called it. I think I saw 3 blues in the Crippling Crush.
Oh, really?
I did see a Crippling. I'm not sure if... I can't confirm if it was 3 blues or not.
Okay, so he's taking 8.
Okay, let's see if John has something that he's able to punish the no block here. Okay, so he chose not to activate the Braid Forge braces here. Okay, oh no, it looks like he has chosen to use it.
So that's coming in for 4.
Okay, so this attack coming in for 4 here. Now again, I feel Sam's kind of committed here to going for this Crippling Crush wave and taking that damage. He does have the option to defend with all the equipment for 4, but you do get blown out a little bit by an attack reaction there, I feel.
Yeah.
Particularly with that one resource up. The fact that Sam used the Courage of Blade Hold as well, I feel kind of indicates that he may have the attack reaction here. Okay, now choosing to... That makes a lot of sense to me, to be honest. Like, if you don't need to use that to get your Dawnblade counter, then, why not save it for next turn? And the thing is here, like, that Crippling Crush is, like, definitely going to connect. I mean, short of something like a red removal from hand plus a equipment block, which would actually be a huge blowout if he had it. But the thing is, for Sam, he's not quite out of the woods, because if this Crippling Crush, John has the option to potentially take 11, go down to 2, keep 2 cards plus an arsenal with a Dawnblade on 4. That's still kind of scary.
Yeah. Let's see what Sam plans to do. Maybe he's going to pop in the Crater Fist. Given the +2, coming in for 13, which is actually lethal.
Yep, he would have the option for Brave Forge braces there. So this Crippling Crush is going to cost 6 because of the...
So he does enough resources if he has triple blue.
He does indeed.
Alright, electing to go into the Crippling Crush 11 Dominate.
Okay, now, we potentially could be hitting for a thriller of a finish here. Now, it really does depend on what John has in hand. If he does have a weaker hand, he may just choose to mitigate a little bit of the damage, take 8, drop to 5, and just have, honestly, a 1-card hand plus an attack reaction from Arsenal is not the worst thing here, if you're able to maintain that Dawnblade counter.
Yeah, you're still threatening 7 damage.
Yep, now, we do have to point out that, as we mentioned, the armor is going to play a critical role in this endgame. The Bravo player does have access to 4. So with the 5 with the Crown, Tectonic Plating, Crater Fist, and the Iron Rot Legs, and that I feel could end up being the difference there. So it looks like he's choosing to defend for 1. So he'd be taking 10 here and dropping down to 3. Not quite sure what the players are thinking on here.
He's thinking if he wants to defend.
Right. Okay, so he's just representing the partial blocks. I mean, something like Red Unmovable would be like a huge tempo swing. Yeah, I'm not sure at all whether he's playing it in the deck or not. But that would be absolutely massive. Okay, yeah, so the players are just having a think here. I'm just trying to...
Alright, so defending 4, taking 7, dropping a 6.
Okay.
When Crush will strip 2 cards.
Now, so you're saying the card you get to keep is that, and these 2 cards.
Oh,
he did get the blue. He did get the blue, and that.
And then he got the yellow too.
That might be a problem. So he defended with the red to clear that out of hand. Now, I'm not 100% sold on the Brave Forge. Oh, no, he did have a yellow at least. The Brave Forge Braces block there was just, I hate to second guess the players. It was just slightly odd to me because I feel you're going to have access to that block at a later point anyway. And I feel you might actually want to drop down on life a bit in order to try and make sure you keep your Skullcap active here.
Yeah.
because this does allow Sam the option to sort of choose his blocks here in a way that will that could just turn off the skull cap altogether.
I think if Sam has a good hand, he's just going to throw his armor at the Stormblade.
Yeah, because if you throw the armor at the Dawnblade, worst case you take 3 from the attack reaction, right? You go down to 7 life, and then you've got 4 cards in hand. So if we look at Sam's hand here, he actually has the option for a bit of a go wide turn. I think I saw a Rouse the Ancients in there, and a Macho Grande. I didn't catch the other cards.
Alright, so he's looking to defend for 4.
He does have the option to filter a card as well. Oh, and very heads-up play from Sam there. That could have been very rough if he decided to block from hand there. I feel like that would have fetched up something like a Glint the Quicksilver. He would have come over, well, depending on how the block lined up. I think that Crater Fist should be...
He didn't defend with Crater Fist. He defended with Crown, Tectonic Plating, and
good point,
Iron Rock. Alright, so Rouse...
Yep, so it looked like he did have the access to this go wide turn here. So that Rouse is coming for 7 with go again.
And then it'll be coming for a 6.
6 with Thanatos, won't he? Yeah, I think things are going to start to get very difficult for John from this point here. The one thing is, you do have the ability to defend out this Rouse with 2 cards, and 2 card block the Thanatos. You only take 1 damage there. Go down to 5, and you can kind of hope your opponent bricks a little bit, but you are sort of like dancing with danger a little bit there, aren't you?
Especially how Sam's been playing. He's been dominating Spinal Crushers, dominating Crippling Crushers, like majority of this game. Yes,
Sam very much choosing to, lean into a more aggressive game plan here. We saw multiple times choose to run out big dominated attacks, not leaving a card in arsenal, and it has worked out for him reasonably well. Yeah, I do wonder if John may end up slightly regretting the sort of quite a big block with the equipment onto that Spinal Crush in the early game. Not being able to preserve these breakpoint blocks for later on. And saying that, I'm not sure if it ultimately would have made a massive difference, but it can be painful when you face something.
This is actually a very rough spot, because both attacks are lethal.
Yes.
So he just can't, he has to defend one of them. Alright, so it's blocking the whole 7. So maybe he's electing to defend with 1 card on his Anathos and then coming back for 4.
Yeah, and Sam, he's navigated this game very well. So he's setting up the Macho Grande into Arsenal. That card has Dominate. If John decides to block with 1 card here, he is effectively dead on board, isn't he? Because he goes down to 3. He has no Arsenal. He's facing down a Macho Grande.
For 8 Dominate.
For 8 Dominate.
And John has 0 armor left.
So this is, unless he's playing defense reactions that we haven't seen, like big defense reactions like Unmovable or Steel Blade Shunts, this almost feels like a forced 2-card block.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's not even as if you have good value from...
Yeah, so...
Okay, so choosing to defend for 3. He is going to take 3 there. I think the players haven't updated life totals, but
yeah,
I imagine they have it on pen and paper.
Yeah, John is on 3.
And the thing is, here for Sam, if he wants to play it super safe, he doesn't need to block. But if he wants to, he still has the Crater Fist up available just to get rid of the Dawnblade counter.
Oh, so yeah, Sam's probably going to take it. I saw a pummel in his hand.
Yeah, but I think he's just checking no cards in hand, no Arsenal.
No Refraction Bolter. Alright. So this does look like the end for pitching the pummel. Okay.
Oh, and who needs Macho Grande when you've got Crippling Crush? Okay, so congratulations to Sam Payne. He does get there in the end with that Bravo deck. I feel I do want to give a shout out to John. I feel like he put up a pretty good fight with that Dorinthia deck. He did have some big turns there.
Yeah.
It did feel just on a few occasions he wasn't able to just get the maximum value out of things like the Steelblade Supremacy, the Nature's Path Pilgrimage. He was hitting cards from these, but he wasn't gaining that all-important card advantage by stripping out your hand and getting that last card in. I also want to congratulate Sam on, I feel he navigated that game very well with his equipment. So he didn't. I feel like he didn't turn on Reprise once that whole game. Maybe on an Alpha Blood at some point, but it got blocked up by a Synclo anyway. He just made sure to preserve his armor. He used a big block when he needed it for tempo, and then he just set himself really well up so he preserved his flexibility. So he said, like, look, I'll block on turns where I don't really have, like, the huge power turns, and then on the ones where I really need it, like that critical block for 4 at the end, he just felt super, super safe.
Sam's been OG player, right? He's probably versed plenty of the Renfields in his Fab lifetime. So
yeah, and that's a good point, because often what you might call a slightly like stealth advantage in a way, if you're playing these decks, I mean, we don't have any Katsus at the event today, but when you're playing these decks like Katsu and Dorinthia that are a little bit old school, you know, the heroes that you just don't see that much anymore, they are, you know, surprisingly a bit tricky to block.
Yeah.
Because obviously Dorinthia has a ton of attack reactions. On Katsu with things like Threatening Mask of Momentum, you have your Ancestral Empowerments, your Razor Reflexes. You know, and it feels sometimes that if you stumble on one turn, they can really build up these like massive snowball effects and get there.
100%.
But we saw Sam, like you say, he's probably played against hundreds of Dorinthia players in his time, and I feel like he was able to navigate that very, very nicely. But like I say, I love to see heroes like Dorinthia, you know, players still going towards these heroes. Unfortunately for John, I feel like, you know, for his feature match, he would have loved to play against the Fight to show us like what his deck can do against decks that don't block that well. He navigated into what would probably be one of his more difficult matchups, but I think he put on a good show.
Yeah, I mean, he did get the Bravo player to single life digits. You know, sometimes, you know, Bravo usually stomps the game with
absolutely. It just felt like the Bravo player was just kind of one step ahead for large sections of that game.
Yeah, so that's the conclusion of round 3. There's only 4 more rounds, Karen.
Yeah, exactly.
And hit the top 8.
And that's the thing. I know some players. I know some people in chat were, and even I, like I say, I don't like second guessing players, were slightly criticizing the early blocking of Spinal. But I think from John's perspective, he can kind of look at it and say like he really wanted to have flexibility on the Courage of Bladehold turn. So I do understand wanting to sort of, you know, defend with that a bit earlier. My one slight thing is he maybe could have preserved the Brave Forge races. And that's probably the only thing I'll say. Potentially to try hit a breakpoint later on in the game. I don't think it significantly changed the game at all. And like I say, I'm not sitting here, I'm not here backseating players, so I don't like doing that. But the only reason I mention is perhaps for some newer players out there who play things like the classic Battle decks or who like playing Dorinthia things. Just something to keep in mind for when you're defending with equipment. Often if it's, you know, the equipment's always going to be there. Short of getting like Tumultide or something like that, it's always going to be there. So sometimes, not always, but sometimes you kind of want to say that for like the on-hits or the non-vanilla damage things. But in saying that, I really enjoyed that game. I thought it was a really nice throwback to some really like classic Flesh and Blood. And yeah, so Sam, as we mentioned, Bravo, one of the most played decks of the event. Sam progresses to 3-0, and I feel like he's probably crossing his fingers at this point and saying, you know, please don't give me a Prism. Keep bringing me the Fies, keep bringing me like these more aggressive decks that I feel very comfortable dealing with.
Yeah, 100%.
And yeah, I feel we'll probably take a quick break shortly, and then come back for all the action from round 4. Just to remind everyone that the Battle Hardened Auckland today is taking part in the Cloud venue in Auckland. It's part of the Cancer Society Games Fair. So, you know, Card Merchant they ran a charity.
Look at him flexing his Chromai mat.
Okay, yeah, I'm just going to stop talking for a second. Look at that playmat.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Zoneless playmat, Chromai. That is very, very cool. I actually don't even know where you get that from, or what it's part of, but
it's actually a prize wall playmat.
Oh, I see. So, hey, for all those players looking at going to things like the Pro Tour in France coming up next month,
or even the Calling at Singapore in a couple of weeks.
Calling in Singapore, exactly. I can't wait for that one. I think that's going to be super exciting. Not sure exactly where they are around the world, but like this is an example of some of the cool stuff that is available on prize walls at these really big events.
Yeah.
And sorry, just going back to the Cancer Society. So I know, Card Merchant last year in collaboration with a number of people. I know Nick Butcher was a big part of fundraising for that, and Cale McCreath, who was playing today, was a massive part of that. They raised a ton of money last year for the Cancer Game Society. Unfortunately, the tournament had to be online due to COVID concerns, but this is just like another opportunity to combine a bit of playing in the flesh and blood with raising money for a really good cause. So I just wanted to applaud everyone involved in that.
No, I actually heard you're the reigning champ from last year of that event, right, Chris?
Well, I don't like to brag, but I did, in fact, win last year's charity event where I was then given the community nickname of Mr. Classic,
Yeah.
And I don't like to disappoint the community.
This year you're on commentary to give others a chance to win, right?
Exactly. I'm on the mic with my main man, Newson. I'm having a great time. Thank you to all our viewers checking in. It's good to see I'm seeing a lot of names from the FAQ community that I recognize. I'm seeing a few players from all around the world tuning in. Now, like we say, we are going to go on a short break. We will be back probably in roughly sort of 15 to 20 minutes once the round finishes up. Don't go anywhere. I can't wait. I'm super excited, and we'll see you all very soon. Welcome back, everyone, to Battle Hardened Auckland, and will just be one moment while we set up the names and the matchups. So I'm just clearing this up now.
Isn't that Ross? Oh, Newton Ross, that's right.
Okay, so
Some Rhino.
we've scoured the tables to find a cool matchup for you guys, and we have a Reiner. And Reiner is honestly one of my favorite heroes in the game. It's the one I played at the New Zealand National Championships I played to. I know my old United Station Blood co-host Carol loves Reiner, one of his favorite heroes as well.
Yeah, didn't you come?
Made the top 4, but then got binned off. Okay. And then we have Ethan, who's a long-time player as well on Phi. Okay, so I think this will be quite a cool one. So I have seen a few Leviah vs Phi matchups. I don't think I've seen a whole lot of Rhino vs Phi.
So, Newton's deck is quite interesting. His Rhino deck is not the ordinary Rhino deck.
Oh, so it's not your traditional kind of, because when you think Rhino traditional, you kind of think of your
Blood Rush Bella,
your Blood Rush Bellas, your Pack Hunts, your Alpha Rampages, maybe your sort of Wild Rides and stuff like that. So is this not really what he's going for?
No, I think his Rhino deck is it's control Rhino. So he doesn't really play the cards like Savage Feast, Blood Rush Bellows. I think he's just playing like Romping Club, Erase Face, Command and Conquer, that kind of stuff, and just really trying to defend out.
So he's trying to sort of control the Phi player a bit, and then like chip damage in, and then maybe come in. Does he have the Blood Rush Bellows somewhere in the deck?
I don't think he does.
Okay.
But he does. I think he does play Barraging Beatdowns and so on.
No, Barraging Beatdown, again, it's a very efficient card at dealing damage or stripping cards, which is what you want to do against Phi. Just sets up these things where you can go, Barraging Beatdown red, pitch 1 card, Romping Club comes in for 8. And I just want to give a quick shout out to, I can see we got Mansan in the chat, the Leviah legend, who won, I believe, 2 Road to Nationals on the deck. So
very impressive.
Carrying the flag for Leviah, big shout out, love your work, keep doing what you're doing. Now, I know, Rhino's not quite your brute, but it's good to see a bit of... I know, we have a bit of a reversed up equipment.
Finally see the Stubbie Hammerers.
Okay, so this is cool. So we've seen a different Phi build earlier on that ran sort of the fridge, but this one we've got the more sort of I don't know if it's a European one, but the European champion ones.
It is the European champion one.
Yep.
I actually know Ethan quite well, so he was talking to me about this deck, and he really likes the playstyle of it. Like with the new Blossom of Spring, it's like very good. All right.
So just right off the bat, a Mountain Anger coming in for 4. And this feels like a little bit annoying to have to deal with on turn 1 because, you 2-card block it, then the Searing Blade comes in, and then another card comes in, and then the Phoenix can chip for 1.
Ooh.
And here comes the Searing Ember Blade, so that's going to be defended. Now we'll see if Ethan is able to chip away a little bit of damage on turn 1 here, which he potentially can. Oh, the Lava Vein for 1.
Activating Phi.
I quite like this. I really like this if he's saving the red card here, because I think he appreciates here that, I'm gonna... If you don't block this, I'm coming with the Phoenix for 1 as well.
Oh, life for life.
Choosing to defend here.
Now, does Ethan have a Lava Burst?
Now that would be big.
Alright, select the Arsenal.
Choosing to Arsenal here. I quite like that because, a red card would come in for 3 damage there. You're able to set up your 5-card hand for next turn.
Yep.
Also things like Art of War, Spreading Flames, anything like that, for example.
Popping a Stubbie Hammers, popping a Blossom, next turn 5 cards. Pretty good.
I feel he really doesn't want to see an Erase Face or Command and Conquer. He's probably pretty happy taking any other damage, right? And also big shout out to my main man Rohan Carter in the chat. It is indeed Mr. Classic. So we see an E-Strike. I believe that'll be coming in for 5.
Go again, I think.
Yep.
And then...
I can see he does have that Sink Below, which is a great card to get into the arsenal here.
Yeah, so I think his turn will just be 5, go again, and then coming in for Romping Club for 4.
We see on the Rhino side, we've got the Crown of Providence there, which is no surprise. And the Goliath Gauntlet, I quite like this as well, because it just really pushes that CNC or Erase Face to very, very difficult to block.
Alright, so Ethan electing to take all the damage. It's just vanilla damage, right?
We spoke about it last game.
He definitely can output more.
That's an Art of War in hand, I believe, as well. So we might be
there we
seeing
go.
the fireworks. Here we go.
Destroying Blossom in the Spring, getting him a resource. And then playing Art of War.
So +1 on Art of War. We'll see what he draws off here. Because he may or may not elect to crack the stubbies, I suppose, depending on what he draws.
Banishing Rising Resentment.
So I feel if you're banishing a Red Rising Resentment, that's probably a pretty good sign that your hand's not too shabby. But I have to say, I feel, Newston on the Rhino here will be very, very happy to have that sink below an Arsenal on this kind of turn. Now, it looks like Ethan's just considering if he wants to go all in with that Stubbie Hammerers here.
Well, Ethan does know his Rhino deck is a control version, so there's like no threat of him dying anytime soon.
Yep.
So maybe if he doesn't have that many free base powers, then he can just save it for a later turn. Like, he doesn't have to use everything this turn.
Because there is, I don't want to overstate or anything, but there is a slight risk if you do use the stubbies and the Mask of Pouncing a bit too early and aren't able to maximize it, that does really, that does strip down the power of your deck in the mid to late game in a big way.
Yeah, well, because he has Art of War, it's pretty good. It's good enough if he doesn't have a powerful turn. Alright, so he does choose to use Stubbie Hammers.
Yeah, now, I don't, it might be a bit late over there, but in my mind, I hope Sebastian, the European Battle Champion, is watching this game and nodding his head and saying, that's how we do it.
Okay, he's pitching that one.
Oh! Okay, so this could be potentially very, very big. So we've got the Art of War, Stubbie Hammerers, and Spreading Flames.
So he's got the Trinity. That's what we call it. It's like every attack +3.
Yep, and I know sometimes these are referred to as kind of like Anthem style effects because you're getting +1 on multiple ways. So this is potentially +3 to like a large number of attacks here.
So this is coming for 5.
Now, Newson's really thinking through his blocks here. It could be it's interesting. You're defending into fire is in a way sometimes you can get into these situations where.
Alright, electing to take 2.
Okay, so he's taking 2. Now we'll have to keep an eye on this Mask of the Pouncing Lynx because what Ethan may not want to do is get stuck in a spot where. Okay, Flame Call Awakening. So this is going to fetch up a Phoenix Flame. So this means we're going to have 2 Phoenix Flames on this turn, and they are both coming for 4. So you got the buff from the Art of War, the Stubbie Hammerers, and the Spreading Flames. Now this is absolutely massive, because this is going to, by sequencing it this way as well, it means your Searing Emberblade, if you want to come in for that later, is going to get buffed by the Spreading Flames. Yep. The point I was going to make before this attack is also, the one thing Ethan may want to be just aware of is that you may not want to hold onto your Master of Pouncing Links too long, just get stuck in a spot where they're able to defend out the last attack, and stop you being able to use it.
Because if he chooses to get a Lava Burst, or even
Assault the Wound,
it's still +2, +3. Yep, so that's another 2 damage. 4.
Okay, now that Phoenix Flame is looking pretty scary. That's a pretty big Phoenix.
Activate Fire. So that's another 4 damage threat.
Okay, so the Sink Below is obviously very good here. For Newson, his alternative play here, even if he didn't have that Sink Below, he does have access to the Crown, which can be very, very strong as well, because if you Arsenal a non-defense reaction, you can defend with the Crown and then have a 5-card defense hand. But being able to preserve that Crown for a later turn is also going to be very important, I feel.
It's actually a very explosive turn.
Yeah, that's...
taking the 4.
And the rebellion is well underway here.
Yeah. Here we go, 4 again.
Okay, so at this stage it looks like he has 1 more card in hand. And a card in Arsenal.
We assume the Arsenal card is probably a red going in card, right?
Probably, yes.
He chose not to play it, turn 1.
But this is what I'm talking about here, though. I mean, depending on what the card in hand and Arsenal are, Newson may be playing towards the thing where if he can sink below this one and block out the other two, that's going to turn off the Mask of the Pouncing Wings.
Yeah.
And that's not absolutely critical for Ethan. I mean, it does mean he preserves it for later in the game, but I feel on a turn like this, you probably want to be using it to just absolutely maximize the damage. Because the thing is, if we consider something like Salt the Wound, which is often a default, it's currently getting +3. Like, he's had 3 attacks that have hit this turn.
No, yeah.
And potentially 4.
Yeah.
The one thing as well, like, I'm talking about this as if, like, Ethan is very well aware of everything I'm talking about as well. He could easily have something like the Salt the Wound or Lava Burst in Arsenal, run out that, then crack the Tide Flippers into the Master of the Pouncing Links. But anyway, less speculation from me. We'll see how the blocks come out here.
Oh, taking the 4.
Okay,
Let's
so now
let's see what Ethan has.
Okay, so Ethan
passing
thinks this is the time to use it. Yeah, because unlike the Katsuhiro ability, the Pouncing Links you don't have to activate on the first attack that hits. You can bide your time a little bit, so there is a bit of decision making involved there. So he fetches up the Salt the Wound, which is now getting +1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, it's a Lava Vein Loyalty, so that is getting
red?
It is, so that's coming for 6, I believe. That is an absolutely massive turn. Brown with Cinderclaw for 6. Now there may be some benefit here to blocking with the Scab Skin to... Oh no, chooses not to. I was just thinking just to turn off 1 damage from the Salt the Wound. Effectively means your Scab Skin to block for 3.
Alright, now coming in for the Salt. So that is...
absolutely massive. I also just want to point out a nice little bit of sequencing there, saving the Brown with Cinderclaw, so the Salt the Wound is actually a Draconic attack, and also getting +1 from the Spreading Flames.
That's actually very... Sequencing's very good from Ethan.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Just pointing out that he's pointing out that Salt the Wound is Draconic now.
Yeah.
So I think that I'll let them do the math.
I think it might have been 11 or it was 10 in the end.
All right. So Ethan's had his big turn, but Ross has no card. Newson has no cards in his hand, so it's actually back to Ethan.
Jeez, Salt the Wound. It's like he went straight into the salt mines there, picked up the biggest block of salt he could find, and just dropped it on top of his opponent's
Oh, it's
head.
one of those Ronin originates blue. If it's blue, then Ethan will have another explosive turn. He has Tome of the Firebrand and another Flame Core Awakening to search his last Phoenix.
Wow, that is huge. Also, does he have a red to open it up with to turn on the Flame Core Awakening? He does.
I think he has two Ronin Originates.
Okay, so we were hoping to feature a bit of the Rhino one here, but it looks like this could just be one of those fire games where they run around with it a bit. My apologies about the timer, everyone. Unfortunately, we didn't start at this round. I think it's safe to say we won't be going to time the round though.
Okay, so he doesn't have.
So just opening with the Flame Call Awakening. You know, the time has been unintentional, but it's looking like it could be time up for Rhino if something doesn't change here.
So I think he's going to save the tome for the next turn. So he's going to come with Cereal Blade, come in with his last Ronin, just Phoenix Flame, and then just Arsenal his tome.
I really like that play here. And
if Newson doesn't have a Command and Conquer or a Erase Face, then Ethan's just going to take all the damage and just have another 5-card explosive turn.
So looks like she's going to take 3 here.
Is that blue?
I believe that may be blue.
Oh, so yeah, doubled blue.
Okay, so that was a bit of an off turn.
Still dealt 5 damage.
But it's still not too bad. Now, I couldn't see Newson's hand, but he really, really wants an Erase Face, I feel, or a Command and Conquer here.
Let's see, Pursue Knowledge.
Okay, so unfortunately he's just got the Life for a Life in the Romping Club. I mean, that is nice. The Life for a Life is almost certainly going to gain him a life here. So that's effectively a 5-life swing. I don't think Ethan's super concerned about his life total at this point.
Okay, yep, Ethan's gonna definitely no blocks that. Yep.
You know, Ethan, he's rounding up the peasants of Volcor, and he's saying, all right.
He's definitely going for the kill. Alright, let's see if he has it. Okay, so...
It feels almost certain that he's going to get the Tome of the Firebrand this turn. Because even just the Searing Emberblade into
Does
Phoenix...
he have a blue? If he has a blue, because I can see a Blaze Headlong and a Lava Burst.
If he has a blue,
This turn's going to be explosive.
Okay, yeah, now, I think in Newson's arsenal he has the Enlightened Strike. Honestly, I feel this turn it might be trending towards him needing to use that Crown of Providence in order to just stay alive.
Yeah, that massive turn from Ethan was just...
Absolutely huge. Okay, so Swingbig's defending out this.
Alright, so he doesn't have the blue.
So that's the third Phoenix Flame.
Yeah, but he can still play Tome. So he's going to play this, Blaze Headlong, get back Phoenix, play Lava Burst, crack the Tide Flippers, and then pitch the Phoenix Flame he got back for Tome.
Okay, now that's the play.
Yeah.
And that's I'm glad you pointed out, because that is quite, shows, like, we did say Fire is a bit of a pick up and play deck, but there are just small things you can do to maximize your damage output. So, obviously, you know, just recognizing that Phoenix Flame can pitch for a resource, for example. And the fact that he used the Brand of Cinderclaw to get the extra damage on Salt the Wound. These are just small things where, in this game, it may not necessarily matter as much, but in these really close games where you're racing to the very end, very, very important. So Newson just sort of considering if he wants to defend out the Blazer Headlong here. Choosing to take 4, so... I think for him he might be thinking, maybe I can take damage and steal a bit of tempo back, but...
Yep. And looks like he's doing the play I just said.
Yep, but...
So Lava Burst coming for 5. Look, he does not want to go to 1, Karen. Going to 1 against Fire is the most annoying things. The Phoenix Flames, all of them are lethal.
Yeah, because you've heard of, you know, things like the old Kadachi lock, the Teklo Pistol, Induction Chamber lock. You kind of have your own, make your own version of that with the Phoenix Flame here, don't you? So I think I can see that might be an erased face in hand, so he might be wanting to hold on to like a... I thought it was an Enlightened Strike and Arsenal, I didn't quite catch it. It may have been a pummel as well.
I don't think he can afford to just keep it.
Yeah, because I think, I have a feeling what he wants to do, what he wants to be able to do here is to keep a blue in hand, pitch 1 blue, and go something like an erase face into a pummel. But it feels...
So he sends Command Conquer.
So you see Command... I did think I saw an erase face in there as well. I feel the erase face is probably going to be the more impactful of the two. So I think it's unlikely at this stage that Ethan's going to end with the card in Arsenal.
Newson should be thinking, why would he keep Phoenix Flame in his hand?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, that's a really heads up comment, because generally you'd think, why wouldn't you just play the Phoenix Flame out first and then hold the information on this thing? So
he must know that something else is coming.
Yeah, but even if it's just like, even if he's thinking it's just an attack for 4. And that is not the card you want to see here. So it looks like he must have taken 3 from that Lava Burst to drop down to 3 life. Oh, was that a... Oh no, Time of the Firebrand is instant speed, so that was not a missed Tide Flippers. Oh, Blaze Headlong for 4.
Blaze Headlong, oh my gosh.
Now that's one thing we talked about last game, holding onto your equipment to not block vanilla damage. I feel against Fire sometimes that does flip the script a little bit here, because Newson has found himself in a spot here where Ethan isn't going to close the chain, so he's only able to defend with the Scavs can leave this once here for 2, and he's not going to have the flexibility to use that a second time this turn. Whereas previously, maybe on one of those previous turns, if he used it to stop damage to tone down the Salt the Wound, he would be 2 life up and be able to defend for 1 with it here.
You know what would be the best draw? Salt the Wound or another Lava Burst.
Assault the Wound would be absolutely devastating here. Now, Fire runs, obviously there's plenty of good draws off that Tome of the Firebrand, but the Blaze Headlong is certainly one of the better ones.
4 go again, can't get better than that.
And honestly, I do understand Newson's potential thoughts or game plan here, where he's like, I need 1 tempo turn to get back in this, but I don't know if Ethan's going to let him get there. You would think maybe a 1 card block here, take 1 damage, go to 2, and then you just really hope he doesn't have that last card to finish you off.
Alright, electing a block of Crying Conqueror, taking 1, going to 2. Oh my god! Well, those two are one of the best draws.
Oh, that is absolutely
brutal.
My
gosh, he drew lava. You can't actually ask for any better draws than those 2 cards.
The Tome that's representing 9 damage off the Tome of the Firebrand.
Oh my gosh.
I think Ethan played the Tome of the Firebrand, looked at his 2 cards and thought, now we're playing Flesh and Blood.
Man, Ethan must have a big smile on his face right now. Oh my god.
And like the round timer says, time's up, I think, for Reiner in this game.
Alright, so he has 2 cards. Yeah, so Ethan's forcing a card from his hand.
I think it almost seems here that you need to be defending with... Okay, so he had the High Roller. I was going to say maybe 1 card plus Crown to try to do something.
Yep. Alright, now it's back to Ethan again.
Yeah, and when you've got 4 cards, your opponent's on 2 life, you've got all the Phoenix Flames in the world. I'm not sure if this build plays in Flame. But if he...
Belittle...
Pitching Rising Resentment.
Reveal...
And this is very rough, because even a Blue Minnowism here is representing 4 damage in a way, isn't it? Because you get your Searing Emberblade... actually, no, you got to be careful. You can't play the Searing because you do need 2 Draconic Chain Links. But I am almost certain he would have 1 in hand.
Well, he does. He has Rising Resentment.
Yeah, of course. What I mean there by the Belittle representing... the Minnow representing 4 damage is because you can go Searing Emberblade and then pay 1 to get back the Phoenix Flame, and that's 4 damage. So this Belittle here, in a sense, is coming in for 7. Really.
So it's double Rising Resentment and Minnowism Blue, I think.
So I feel we might see something like a Rising Resentment into the Searing into Phoenix, and then you hold the last card just to hold back a little bit of information.
To be honest, he can... I think he's going to play the Minnowism out. He doesn't need the resources. It goes...
You do
1 damage.
You potentially give up the damage from the Searing Emberblade there if he doesn't have the... Oh no, he's got 2 open.
He's got 2 open, so he can go Minnowism, Rising Resentment, Searing Emberblade, get back Phoenix.
Yep, he's just got all the options in the world here, doesn't he? And poor old Reiner is kind of...
You never really got to...
Never really got to sort of play out
play out after that huge...
Rhino sitting there thinking, you don't see this in the Savage Lands, you know?
Yeah, so he's doing that. Okay, so another breakpoint, 4. And then he's going to come in for another 2. I think here's a yellow.
Yep.
So that's coming, blocking 4. Searing Emberblade for 3. Another has to block that too.
Yep, I think Rhino was wanting to say welcome to the jungle, but instead it's welcome to Volcor in this situation. And unfortunately, you do have to feel a bit for Newson here. He's 3-0 playing on stream, and but sometimes Fi just has these kind of turns where it's just very, very difficult for you to keep up. Because that's the thing, he's not necessarily dead by any means on board this turn, but it looks like he's going to potentially stay on 2 or drop down to 1, and then Ethan is going to have another 4-card hand. Yep, Rising Resentment coming in for 2. We do see the Crown of Providence. So is he going to use the card from Arsenal to filter here?
So you said his Arsenal was an Enlightened Strike, right?
I'm not 100% sure. I only got a quick flash. I can see some people in the chat saying they thought it was Pummel.
If it's Pummel, you definitely shuffle that back to the deck and try to draw a card.
Yeah, I would think you maybe want to dig for something like a Sink Below here, or any sort of defense reaction.
Because he knows Ethan's last card is Phoenix, and that's only representing 1 damage, so that he can afford to take that, and maybe swing back with an Erase Face or something. But
it feels like he just needs something here, doesn't he?
yeah, it's just very rough for Newson right now.
And the problem is at this point in the game, even in a race face, I feel it's just not impactful. I mean, it's good. It could brick one of Ethan's hands and give him a small chance to get back in the game. But just coming in for sort of, 3-3-3 is... Okay, so he is choosing to filter away that card. I feel that is the correct decision here.
Ethan wanting him to get to 1.
And we'll see. I mean, Newson, he may elect to defend this here just to give himself a tiny bit more flexibility for a future turn.
I think he'll have to drop to 1 if he to fire back.
And there I think we got to experience the absolute raw power that this fire deck can put out with the Stubbie Hammerers Blossom of Spring.
Yeah, like that Art of War, Spreading Flame, Stubbie Hammer's turn, insane. And then, don't forget, his Tome of the Firebrand turn was so insane.
Absolutely massive. I feel that the fact that you can Tome of the Firebrand, fetching back that Phoenix for free, was just huge there. I think Newson's one chance was hoping he bricked on the Tome of the Firebrand, but unfortunately, there were no bricks.
Like, that Tome of the Firebrand, he could not draw any better than that.
Yep, I think that was pretty much
like, that was the best 2 cards you could ever ask for.
We can't see the players, but I like to think Newson looked over and said, must be nice.
Alright, so he elects to defend. Oh, and he's pitching... but no. Alright, so I see a Belittle in his hand. So I think that card will be it'll be dead because his build only runs 1 blue minimalism.
Right.
But it's still a free Gogan.
Absolutely. And there's no Crown of Providence now, there's no Scabs and Leathers blocks here.
There's only a Tunic.
There is only a Tunic. I can see a Sink Below. Even that's probably not going to be super relevant unless there's a Blaze Headlong coming in. We'll see that's the thing about this fight deck though, it's like once you get on a roll, it's very rare for you to outright brick, like near impossible. So yep, the Ronin Renegade coming in for 3.
So that's another card.
Just to rub a bit of extra salt in the wound here, I can see in Newson's hand he has 3 2-block cards.
Oh, really?
2 Pummels and a Pursuit of Knowledge. And that is just brutal at this point. He does have the Sink Below. There is an option here to Sink Below the Ronin Renegade, get rid of one of those 2 blocks. I can see someone asking, Stubbie Hammerers is legal for this event.
Yeah.
So the ban list is effective as of Monday.
Alright, dropping to 1.
Okay, so I'm going to say respect to Newton as well. Like, he's just saying, you're going to have to finish me off, Like, I'm going to stay in this game as long as possible.
It's got the blue.
Saying that, yeah, I think we may have to see a Sink Below here to get away one of those 2 blocks. Okay. So I like seeing, just a quick note, I like seeing tech like the Pursuit of Knowledge, obviously very good with Pummel. Okay, so the Fire's going to come in for 1, that can be Tunic blocked potentially.
Yeah, this game...
Okay, so coming with a Belittle there, I do understand that, just stripping out the last card. He did have the option to Phoenix Flame there, and then Arsenal the Belittle, potentially, which would have eaten either the Tunic or a card. But I think at this point, 1 life, I'm I'm trying to think of a way back in it to run up, but I think it's going to prove very, very difficult. And
that's blue?
And that is coming in. That is a blue. That's a mounting anger coming in. So this is the effect's not relevant because you have to block anyway. But that's another 2/2 blocks.
Yeah, this game looks like. Yep, last card. Activate Fire, get Phoenix, takes Tunic, and that's it. The rest from him for 1. Well, what a show.
Yeah, we did want to do our best to feature some of the lesser played decks in the 3-0 bracket, and you know, I really want to commend Newsom for playing like you play Reiner playing into 3-0 is very impressive to me as well. So this is actually round 4, I believe.
Yeah.
So apologies to our viewers. We did just have a slight mix-up on doing this. So coming into round 4, going 3-0 and Reiner, I think is impressive in and of itself. I just feel that it is a difficult matchup sometimes, this kind of one. I can see, I feel just seeing his deck, I can understand. Okay, so he did have the red pummel. I think he's showing us what he wanted to set up. Yeah,
so he did want to set up that.
Yep, so that with the Tunic, that's what we suspected. He wanted to go hit your blue, come in a race-based pummel to get a bit of tempo. Unfortunately for Newson, that was the Tome of the Firebrand turn where he came in for additional 9 damage. So I think if that had been an off turn, this game may have actually been a little bit closer, because that would have been 10 damage, turning off your Draconic abilities, and that actually maybe gives you a chance. And discarding a card. I feel I could get a sense of what Newson's game plan wanted to be there. I can see he runs a lot of pummels, he runs a lot of disruption, command and conquer, erase face, things like Pursuit of Knowledge to draw you an extra card. I saw he had things like This Round on Me, as a little bit of tick against the go wide turns. But, you know, like a famous quote from Mike Tyson once said, everyone's got a game plan until you get punched in the face. And unfortunately, I feel for Newson, that turn 2 from Ethan with the Stubbie Hammerers, the Art of War, the Blossom of Spring, into Spreading Flames, that was sort of the huge haymaker that was very, very difficult to deal with.
I think you can't get better than that. Then that hand probably couldn't get better than that.
It did look like one of those.
He had the Flame Core Awakening too, which presented another 4 damage.
I think the only thing I could see being a bit more damage than that is sort of the Salt the Wound into Tide for the Salt the Wound, something like that.
Yeah, that.
But I mean, hey, I don't think Ethan's going to be complaining about not having the second Salt the Wound there.
Yeah.
Because, and I think, but one thing I want to point out is, yes, this turned into an absolute blowout in the end, but we do have to recognize how the game went. Like, he had the absolute dream turn 2, and then on the follow-up turn where Newson had sort of played to his outs a little bit with the erase face and the pummel, he got hit by the additional 9 damage off the Tome of the Firebrand.
Yeah, those 2 draws were...
And don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here being like, oh, like, Ethan got lucky, that's what happened. The Fire deck is built to do these things.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of the deck. Like, this is what your deck is meant to do. So I'm not saying, oh, he got lucky that the way he won. All I'm trying to say is that this game certainly could have been a little bit closer than it ended up being, if just a few small things had gone the opposite way.
Yeah.
For example, if that Spreading Flames had just been a different card, the Tome of Firebrand representing 9 additional damage instead of, say, like 3 to 5 to 6. Just these little things made it turn from a potentially slightly closer game into an absolute blowout.
Yeah, I think that Tome giving him that Blaze Headlong and Lava Burst.
Absolutely, because I actually noticed at the start of that turn that Ethan was down to 23 life, and obviously that is an absolute ton of life. You're not sweating about your life total at that point. But for example, if that had been a slightly weaker turn, and then suddenly you drop down to 13 life, you discarded your Draconic abilities are all turned off, meaning you could potentially brick on your turn, then that game actually starts to get a little bit scary. Like, then there's actually, what if the next turn is like a Command and Conquer pummel? You know, what I'm trying to say is, like, we're not going to be like, oh, like, you know, obviously, hey, if you had a bad hand, I had a good hand, the game would have gone different. Like, that's very obvious. All I'm trying to say is the people in the chat saying, you know, oh, this is, you know, Reiner cute for trying or whatever. I think
there was a window.
There was certainly windows. That's all I'm trying to say. Is that I want to commend Newson for playing towards his outs, but sometimes there's just very little you can do in the face of like 40 damage turn into like 20 plus damage turn. You know.
Yeah. All right. So that concludes round 4. 3 more rounds to go till top cut.
We'll just see. As far as time left in the round, we're. So the next round is starting in about 35 minutes. So that was obviously one-on-ones on the quicker side.
Yep.
what I would just do for our viewers here is I'm just going to update the oops, sorry, my apologies, I'm just messing with the timer. I'm just going to update the round timer here, so we can see how much time is left until the next round. So we've got about 32, 33 minutes left. What we will do is we're going to go on a quick break. We do appreciate there is a bit of an extended break between this round and the next round. We might see if we can
Get someone to interview.
Yeah, we might see if we can get someone to interview probably in about 15-ish minutes or so. We may take a quick break, grab some lunch, but we appreciate people kind of don't want to sit around for half an hour. So stay tuned, maybe say about 15 to 20-ish minutes. We'll try to grab someone in for the interview so we can keep the ball rolling.
Yeah,
All right, thank you very much.
Soon.
Thanks very much for tuning in, everyone. Don't go anywhere. We will see you soon for an interview, and we'll come back for round 5 very shortly. Welcome back to Battle Hardened Auckland, everyone, and we have a special treat for everyone watching and tuning. We have the man himself, James White, creator of the game. Welcome, James.
Yo, what's up?
He's hyped to be here. Okay, so we did put the donation link in the channel for a couple of questions, so I think I'm just going to start off with the community questions, James, if that's all right. Okay, so my first one is from John Warden, from Mr. Flukenbox himself. Yep. So he asks, on behalf of Yahtzee, why do we have brute cards that don't block? And I think that's the fun one.
Good on you, Yahtzee, man. Love the commitment to your favorite hero, by the way. Look, the answer to that is like a large part flavor-wise, right? Like, brutes are very single-minded in what their objective is, like attack, or a lot of them are anyway. Even though that might not strategically be the best way to play brute in like CC, it's like, I know that you're supposed to block a lot and pick your spots, but from a flavor point of view, like the brutes in the Savage lanes, they're not really that strategic. They're just very single-minded. It's like, yep, strength rules all. I'm just gonna like smash you in the face, and that's like how I'm gonna get the job done. So, like the no blocking thing is kind of like leaning into that single-mindedness of the brutes. In addition to that, cards like Wild Ride, like if you compare it to like Throttle, for example, from Mechanologist, you know, like a 2-drop 6 power that has Go Again, like, you know, Mechanologist has to pay a cost for that. They have to like bin off a card from their deck, right? And you have to build your deck to be like, you know, pure mech or close to pure mech to be able to play this. So like, you know, it is partly a balancing thing as well. Like, Wild Ride is a pretty strong card when you've built your deck to flip those 6s. So there does need to be a little bit of give and take and just like getting that to an appropriate spot.
Absolutely, and you know, if you're holding a big tree, how do you defend with it? Your hands are done, and you know, Wild Ride, Breakneck Battery, different cards. You don't need the card into play it, so totally understand that. So there you go, there you have it from the man himself, and now we have one from a player that I know you appreciate as well, the man himself, Ethan Van Sant, the Leviah legend.
Absolutely love you, Ethan, man.
Winner of 2 Road to Nationals. Now he's got a question for you. He asked, can you confirm or deny the rumor that Leviah had a different hero ability before release that was toned down late in testing?
So firstly, like, we're going brute into brute on the questions.
The brute players are very passionate about the game, I feel.
Damn straight on, I absolutely love that. So look, very simple answer to that is no, but the thing that did change was Hungering Slaughter Beast and the Boneyard Marauder, like those sort of like vanilla baseline, eat your graveyard, smack you in the face cards, like they did have a power pulled off them like quite late in development, and look, I think that it was necessary. Like, those cards were just a bit pushed, particularly getting that extra blue 6 with the Slaughter Beast. So yeah, it's just I think it was the right thing to do. But yeah, look, Leviah's starting to put up some wins, and you know, Ethan is being the biggest champion of Leviah all the way through, and like, he's starting to put up some wins and inspire other people to sleeve up their carrion husks in this new format and actually, you know, get some wins on the board. And Leviah's slowly keeping away at the LL leaderboard, and look, believers get rewarded.
Exactly. I had to say, I was a bit of a skeptic. I saw it in a Road to Nationals the other day in a top 8 match at Playing into Fi, and this Leviah player, Adam Little from nowhere, just dropped sort of back-to-back 25 damage turns, and I'm thinking, okay, now I'm starting to believe. I'm starting to see the light. Like, this is how it's done. Okay, so we do have a question from Outcast Haven. I'm just going to trust that you will donate to the link because we are limited in time. But Outcast Haven, some great OG content creators. They've been around for a very long time.
Absolutely. These guys are awesome.
So they have asked, can we expect to see any other young heroes get adult versions?
Like, yes, it will happen for sure. Like, in Fab 2.0, we said that we will be investing into building out depth from the heroes that people love. So part of that is, you know, like we've seen it with Icelander moving into Uprising and becoming the adult version introduced to the game, and it's certainly on our radar to look at where there's like, you know, a lot of popularity or a lot of like fan base around some of these younger heroes that don't have adult versions yet, and seeing how that also fits into the story arcs that are running through and you know, coming out over time. And look, there will be times where it makes sense to integrate some of these legacy young heroes and bring them into their adult form. I can't really speak to who and when, but it's
you gotta maintain some mystery.
Yeah, for real. But like, you know, we want to build depth into the heroes that fans love and know.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me as well. I wanted to ask you, I know you're busy, I want to ask a couple of just quick fire questions that are probably on the community's mind at the moment. I think the big one on everyone's mind is the Stubbie Hammerers ban.
Yeah.
So that announcement went up very recently. Obviously it's still legal for this tournament. I feel like the article explained pretty much the logic behind it, but just because we've got you here in the flesh and blood, I just wanted to ask, I feel like the tone of the article was very strongly towards that it wasn't banned for sort of pure high-level competitive play balance. So now, is that correct? Do you just want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, as we saw from the data out of the Road to National season, that was an absolutely incredible season in terms of hero representation, top 8 representation, and win spread across a lot of different heroes. So we were very happy with how Road to National season played out. But look, as we started to reach week 7 into the sort of the uprising format, like on from the world premiere when the entire set was spoiled and people have been like building and refining these decks, and like Fi has sort of he's nearing that crescendo of like getting towards optimization, and as that has started to happen, like Fi's win rate has obviously picked up a lot, and people have really started to master the strategy of Fi for all of the different matchups, and we really saw that play out in Utrecht last weekend with both the European Champions tournament and the calling itself being won by Fi. And look, I think the issue that we have is Fi can be beaten. Fi with Stubbie Hammerers can be beaten when you're at that like elite level. And we do, like from our internal testing, we do know that there are tools available to some of the heroes or some of the classes to be able to sort of evolve the metagame at that highest professional play level. The issue that we have is at the armory level, the in-store play level, where a lot of people are just turning up week on week and they just want to play the heroes that they love. They don't want to be forced to have to play some hero that they actually maybe don't want to play because it's the only way that you can have a game against Fi. And they sit down and they get smoked in 2 turns. That's the thing that we want to get rid of, that we don't like. Like, yes, from time to time you go and you play a game versus Kano or whatever, and you get blown out on a couple of turns. But it's not prolific. Like Kano has a sort of a small fan base, and Kano isn't doing that every single time you sit down. The issue with Stubbie Hammerers is it starts the game and play. It's free to activate. Just the cost to just like bink off your opponent for like 15% of their life is just too low. And again, some heroes just don't have any tools to actually engage or interact with that. And at that in-store armory level, we just don't want to see that happening. We want people to be able to turn up with whatever hero they like and having an engaging game. And when I say engaging game, that doesn't mean that they win. It means that you actually you get to play a good amount of turns to get to the conclusion of the game. It's not, turn 2, boom, done.
Yeah, and it's very topical, so we just had a game that was a little bit like that. But I totally get it. Like, you have more casual players. You don't want to go in and, hey, I played 3 rounds, I played about 7 minutes of Flesh and Blood. Like,
no good. Bad experience.
Yeah, and like you say, the cost of 7 damage being moving your hand about 3 centimeters onto the board is probably it can be quite a lot.
Yeah, and look, I think Fi is going to be an incredible deck in the new metagame moving forward. And look, I mean, Stubbie Hammerers wasn't even played in every single matchup, even like while it was legal. So and Fi has been a very strong performer. So I think it's just about taking that degeneracy out of like that subset of matchups where you do play Stubbie Hammerers and games are ending on turn 2 like quite a lot of the time.
Absolutely, and just I think you mentioned already, but you've been would it be fair to say you've been pleased to see the hero diversity in the metagame so far with that uprising?
Yeah, it was very pleasing, and I think week 1, week 2 of Road to Nationals, there was no consensus to what the best deck was. Sort of as we started to move into week 3 and week 4, maybe there was some consolidation around like what the pillars or what the decks to beat were in the format. But I think that really showed through in the data that was posted in the article yesterday, both in the banned and suspended announcement, and also in the week 3 and week 4 recap post that went up there, and the metagame summary article that went up by the guest writer, which was a fantastic piece of writing. Great diversity across the season. Was really happy to see that, and that's what we want to like. Moving quickly to get rid of Stubbie Hammerers now is about actually preserving that. So as we move forward through, we've got Battle Hardened Portland in a couple of weeks. Then we've got the Calling Singapore in 3 weeks, and obviously we've got Pro Tour Lille 4 weeks from now. And then we move into the National Championship season. look, we really hope to see that kind of diversity that we saw during the Road to Nationals preserve and flow through to the coming months.
Absolutely, and you mentioned Singapore. I'm really happy to see them get their first really big premier event. Unfortunately, the Nationals last year was impacted by COVID, so they got a very passionate player base there. I think that's going to be an awesome tournament. And final question, I know you have to go, but Pro Tour Lil, surely, are you pretty excited to see how the metagame adapts? Are you going to be there yourself in person?
Absolutely going to be there. I'm actually going to Singapore on the way up there, so
no way.
If you're in the APAC region, try and make it to Singapore. It's going to be a fantastic event. But yeah, I will be there, and Leo, absolutely can't wait to see what the best minds in the world bring to the table for this new format, and yeah, look forward to seeing people there.
Yeah, I thought the deck tech done by the European Battle Champion thing was actually very cool.
That was insane. I did, yeah.
Yep. And because I thought it went really in depth, really sort of showed really deep game knowledge of exploring all the matchups, really drilling down into how the hero worked. I thought that was very, very cool. So shout out to Sebastian for posting that. I believe it was.
And look, North America, you got to step up your game. You got to get back across, get over the Atlantic and get some revenge for the European onslaught that was inflicted at Pro Tour New Jersey. So put it out there, boys.
Okay.
And girls, get over there.
A challenge from James White himself to the American players. Thank you very much for your time, James. I really appreciate it. I know all the viewers, all the players out there really appreciate it. And yeah, to everyone in Singapore and Europe, you'll get to see him in the flesh and blood very shortly. See you all there.
Thank you.